Hi everyone, welcome to the Victorian Age Part 2 video. In the first part, we have seen about a Chartist movement and the Anti-Con Law League. In the Part 2, we are going to see about the Great Exhibition, Oxford movement, the progress in physical and medical sciences, and then about the Crimean War and Indian Sepoy Mutiny. Let's see first the Great in Exhibition. The Great Exhibition was the first international exhibition that took place in Hyde Park at London from 1st May to 15th October 1851. And this exhibition is to explore culture and industry which have become more popular in the 19th century. The event was organized by Henry Cole and Prince Albert, who is the husband of Victoria, the Queen of United Kingdom. And famous people like Charles Darwin, Karl Marx, Michael Faraday, they all have planned and judged the exhibited articles in the Great Exhibition. And they are also a part of the organization. And writers like Charlotte Bronte, Charles Dickens, Louis Carroll, George Eliot, Alfred Tennyson, Thackeray all have participated and attended in the exhibition. And it is a display of products of French industry as well as the British industry. Especially, it was organized to display the pride of England, and it insisted the importance of the development in technology and industry. It was held for 9 months, and almost more than 6 million people visited the great exhibition all over the world. People came and wondered at the products exhibited. It was a huge crystal palace. There was a huge iron structure. The 9,000 square feet of glass was built as a palace, and the artistic works and raw materials collected across the world, because the British Empire was from east to west. So they have collected more raw materials from each and every corner of the world, and they have been exhibited there. And we could even see the Kohinoor diamond there. Next, we can see the progress in physical and medical science, because it was the era where we could see a remarkable progress in science and its advancement. Henry Bessemer's process of steel making, uh, which made the possible of mass production of steel. Henry Bessemer's converter helped to uh, produce steel at large scale because it was simple. It has adapted a simple method of oxidation of the iron ore. What was the impact of this large scale production of steel was, it is due to the invention of this. There was the possibility of expansion of railroad, and it fueled and marked the birth of modern cities which we see nowadays. And next we have Michael Faraday. And Michael Faraday is called the father of electricity. Yes, he was the first one to introduce or invent uh, producing electricity through magnets. our magnetic field. What we are, what way we are now following to produce electricity is invented by Michael Faraday, and he was the first one to invent the first electric motor and dynamo. And thirdly, we have Simpson, and his use of chloroform in medicine has made a great uh, change in the field of medicine. And then we have Joseph Lister, who has developed antiseptic surgery, and it was a great relief for the suffering humanity. And we have a wonderful publication of the Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. He's the greatest scientist of the day. It has brought shocking theory that man and all other species of the earth had evolved from a common source. It is just an evolution, not the creation. And this conflict has created much controversy, even though it was accepted later. In that period, there was a bitter battle of words between churchmen and scientists. Those who believe in biblical account of the creation of man could not accept the publication of the origin of species. Along with these social and scientific advancements, there was going on a religious movement, that is the Oxford movement, which is also called a Tractarian movement, because a lot of series of articles were published in the tracts of the times from 1833 to 1841. The main aim of this Oxford movement was to counteract the latitudinarianism and irreligiousness of the intellectuals of those period. That is just to renew the Catholic practice in the Church of England. These intellectual Oxford scholars rebel or protest against the practices in the Protestant church. And John Henry Newman and other Oxford scholars like Edward Burwer Bussy and John Cable, they founded this movement, Oxford movement. They reasserted the apostolic and Catholic heritage of Anglicanism, and they want to revive the Catholic practices in the Church of England. It's all because of the change that took place in the relationship between the state and the Church of England from 1828 to 1832. From and it resulted in uh, the laws that required members of municipal corporations and government office holders to receive the Lord's Supper. Lord's Supper is the ritual which happened in Church of England. There, the elite group will be invited, and this was cancelled first of all, and a law was passed then to remove most of the restrictions formerly imposed on Roman Catholics. This was the main basic reason why Oxford movement was supported in England. And for a short time, it seemed possible that the Church of England might be disestablished. Consequently, many loyal Anglicans wished to assert the Church of England was not dependent on the state. Therefore, the rivalry between state and the Church of England was put to an end, and it gained authority from the fact that it taught Christian truth and its bishops were in the succession of Catholics. So this movement involved in theological, pastoral, and devotional problems. And John Henry Newman subsequently was a convert to Roman Catholicism and became a cardinal. And the ideas of the movement were published in the tracts for the times from 1833 to 41, in which 24 articles were written by Newman. And those who supported tracts were called Tractarians. That's why this movement is also called the Tractarian movement. Newman began to study the history of the church before converting to Catholic. He has studied the history of the Church of England, and he found that on the 39 articles was out of tune with the church established as in the 6th century. So, according to Newman, the only remedy for the spiritual malady, what happened in that period, was a return to the practice of sacraments and rituals of the early church, as there was too many diversions from the early practices of the church. Newman advises to stick on to the old practices in order to renew the Catholic Church. So the long forgotten medieval religious ceremonies were revived, and attendance at a church service also considerably increased. The response was immediate and encouraging. But Newman's quest for truth, it came to an end in on 9th October 1845, because he was received into the Roman Catholic Church, and those who failed to appreciate his sincerity described him as a betrayer. Even though he revived many medieval religious ceremonies, he was called as deserter. And Charles Kingsley has written an unkind remarks to him, to which Newman has written as a reply his autobiography, Apologia Pro Vita Sua, in which he defended the conversion to the Catholic faith as a natural consequence of his conversion. Charles Kingsley accused him and questioned about his honesty and integrity, and all his accusations are answered by Newman in his Apologia. It was written almost with simplicity and sincerity. It can be considered as a spiritual autobiography. It was the wonderful piece in English prose. And Newman's conversion was also followed by a regular stream of conversions to the Roman Catholic Church. After repeated requests to Rome, the long suppressed Catholic hierarchy was re established on the day Saint Michael, September 29 in 1850, when Cardinal Wiseman, a Protestant convert, re established it as its head. He had his supervisory power over 12 other dioceses. Dioceses is an area containing a number of churches, like a district. We have some dioceses where a group of churches are run under the headship of the bishop, supervision of the bishop, and its headquarters was at Westminster. And next we can see the Crimean War. Um, Crimean War was fought from October 1853 to February 1856 between Russia and France, and as an ally, United Kingdom was also there. And it came to an end with the Treaty of Paris in 1856. It was the most unhappy episode in the whole glorious history of Victorian age. And it was not without doing some good to humanity at large, because during the war only we have found Miss Florence Nightingale, who has founded a Nightingale training school for nurses in 1860, and she became the founder of modern nursing. It happened like this. Miss Florence Nightingale, with a band of 38 co workers, came to the rescue of the wounded soldiers in the hospital at Scutari. When the war was over, she played a prominent part in recognizing the Army Medical Department. And later on, coming from a respectable family and related to many such families, she brought a new dignity to the nurses' profession, and most people followed her, and she had been the inspiration to many of the nurses till now. And the fourth one, what we are going to see is Indian Rebellion of 1857, and it had been a threat to the British Army. The causes of the Indian Rebellion is uh, is numerous in number, but it happened on May 10th, 1857 at Meerut. It is called as Mutiny, or the first war of independence in India. It resulted in suppression of the revolt. British people suppressed the revolting Indians in the army, and then it ends the Mughal Empire also. And it is a formal end of the company, East India Company, and its rule in India. And then the most important thing is the rule was transferred from the company to the crown. Yes, for on 1st January 1877, Queen Victoria was declared as Empress of India, and it was proclaimed in the Great Assembly at New Delhi. On knowing the inability of the East India Company, which could not control or which could not rule properly, was dethroned from the power, because it is India's vast territories had been a threat to the company, and therefore the government at home transferred the political power completely from the company to the crown. Thank you for listening.